Didn't see you there. It's been a long time since we've done one of these videos. Almost a year. And honestly, it's been kind of a hard week for me, so today I just wanted to talk about one of my favorite characters ever, Spider-Man, and all the movies that he's been in. Ranking them. That was the whole point of this bit, was to talk about how I haven't done a ranking video in almost a year. It's not funny if you have to explain it. Hey nerds, what's up? So like I said, today we're going to be ranking the Spider-Man theatrical films that have been released since about 2002. Without further ado, let's get started. So a lot of these lists that I've been looking at include the Venom films in their Spider-Man film franchise as well, which I totally get. I have not personally seen Venom yet because, you know, I heard mixed feelings about it, and while Venom is one of my favorite movie villains, Carnage is not. And anyway, I haven't had the time or the motivation to see them yet, so I don't want to rank Venom. So if you see the little Venom thumbnails on the screen, just ignore those. I'm not going to be ranking them. All right, let's start with 2002 Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Ah, this one is so nostalgic. This is going to be the same problem I had with ranking Disney. Everything is like nostalgic, and I mean, they were good. This is what really, I feel like, got a lot of people into Spider-Man if they weren't already big comic book readers. And it has the iconic Danny Elfman soundtrack and just a different flavor of Spider-Man than like the comics that have come out at the time. He's an adult, but he's a college student, not a full adult that I can remember. But yeah, so Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Willem Dafoe, James Franco, all of these like iconic cast members. Where to rank? I think I'm gonna put it in A. Where do I put it in S? See, I'm gonna put it in A for now. I might change it later depending on the other movies. But we also have Spider-Man not with web shooters, but with like a mutant, more of a mutantogenic, like a mutant power. But he's not a mutant, it was the spider, but you know, it comes from his body, his molecular structure, instead of being more of like a genius and creating the web shooters. That's just like one of his abilities with the other spider abilities, like sticking to stuff and the strength and everything. So that was a neat take too. Yeah, so just a unique look overall. We have the beautiful Willem Dafoe. The beautiful maybe isn't the right word. The wonderful Willem Dafoe doing his iconic role of being a very scary villain, and really just acting chops. Sweet Aunt May, very old Aunt May in these ones. Good special effects, especially for the time being, of CGI, and having the first person look of swinging the webs and the glider and everything else. Obviously with time, all of these movies have aged, but aged well. So yeah, I really do enjoy and have a special place in my heart for Spider-Man Tobey Maguire. Obviously, with the overwhelming success of Spider-Man, we got Spider-Man 2, which I know exactly where that's going. That is going in S, because Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is like, it's like Mark Hamill as the Joker. To me, at least. He did such a great job of making this character both lovable, but also like corrupt, and like he's such a good villain. I think he's played many great villains in his time, and he was born for this role. I love him in it. It's super action-packed. Mary Jane finds out about Peter Parker being Spider-Man. I think Harry finds out that, I think both of them actually find out that Peter Parker, yeah. They both find out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man in this movie, so there's a lot of big plot moments, and then, again, just the grand scale of fighting Doc Ock and the awesome scenes, and of course the train scene. Yeah, so a lot of people find out he's Peter Parker in this film, but it's so iconic. Again, another movie that's aged really well, and yeah, it's a good one. I need to watch the original trilogy again. I haven't watched them in a while, and especially watching No Way Home. I've definitely grown up with Spider-Man. From the 90s show and all of the iterations of Spider-Man, then on TV, like the MTV CGI one and Spectacular Spider-Man. So good. And Ultimate Spider-Man even, and I started reading Ultimate Spider-Man, which is the main Spider-Man comics I've read, I think middle school, and loved them, loved reading them. So I've read all of that production, and then Miles Morales came out, and I started reading him, love Miles Morales, and then I've read different offshoots, just like the Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, the Superior Spider-Man, all of the different iterations and stories that Spider-Man has gone through. I particularly love the Ultimate Spider-Man because he was a teenager, and that resonated with me at the time. Really, he's so relatable, and I think that's why a lot of people love him. So he's definitely one of my favorite superheroes of all time. And again, I've grown up with him, so there's a lot of meaning to Spider-Man for me. Just double checking to make sure all of the Spider-Mans came out in the same order. So then we have the third, Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire. It's so funny how Spider-Man 3 is treated now. I feel like it's so meme-worthy. Also a fun fact, Spider-Man 3 was my first ever midnight premiere. So saw a couple people dress up as Spider-Man, it was a good time. Great time watching it in the theater. But yeah, Spider-Man 3 had some issues trying to cram too much in there. Did the very iconic Venom storyline. Didn't mind that part. I thought the Venom, how they created Venom and how it was animated and everything was really cool. The iconic walking down the main street with the new haircut and just pointing, and again, all great meme-worthy things. Sandman was fine. Harry being in there as Hobgoblin-esque, and then Venom. I definitely was not a fan of the Venom in this movie. So overall, I think, am I going to be as harsh as possible and give it D? Potentially. The next movie we have is The Amazing Spider-Man. It's interesting to see the internet's take on The Amazing Spider-Man now, because I think back then it didn't do as well. And maybe I'm not remembering that correctly. But I saw The Amazing Spider-Man, I think both of them in theaters, and I enjoyed them. The Amazing Spider-Man was not my favorite to the first two Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. However, I didn't hate them. I love Spider-Man, so it's very hard for me not to enjoy the different Spider-Man movies, because it's really fun to see the iterations that come out. Like Andrew Garfield, I think he's a wonderful Peter Parker, and I think he's a great Spider-Man. I think he does a good job of both, and he does his own interpretation and take, and it's really fun. And his chemistry with Emma Stone is fantastic. I really liked the first one with the lizard and kind of introducing Captain Stacy, Gwen Stacy, and all that, and also the lore behind like why Peter Parker's parents died, because you're like, what happened to them? Because he's usually just with his Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Yeah, I just thought that was a neat take. And my biggest problem with The Amazing Spider-Man in general, I think, is the casting of Harry. I have nothing against the actor who plays Harry, but I just do not see him in that way. He's just so thin and like lanky, and I can see it because he's like a rich kid and like very privileged and grows up in like really good school, and he's like smart and all that, but he was not my favorite casting choice. Regardless, I still really liked the first Amazing Spider-Man, so, but I don't know if I like it. Do I like it the same as Spider-Man Tobey Maguire in A? I think I'm gonna put it right in the middle. I think. We'll see. It's been a while since I've seen these as well, so of course, after The Amazing Spider-Man, we have The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Again, I feel like it suffered from what Spider-Man 3 did, which was trying to cram too many things in at once. And I don't know if the creators of Sony and the directors of The Amazing Spider-Man knew that they were only going to do 2 movies, and so they tried to cram it into one, but I thought Electro was fine. Jamie Foxx is a great actor. The Electric Eels were certainly an interesting take on Electro, showing Harry slowly corrupting into the Green Goblin, and then him coming at the end. Now, granted, the scene with him grabbing Gwen and dropping her into like an observatory or whatever, the cinematography, everything about that scene is amazing. It's so good, and like the little web hand, all of that I really liked, and it was so impactful, and like the hit of the ground and the snap of the, yeah, you get it. It was so impactful, and that like boosts the movie for me just because of that scene alone. So I'm gonna put it in C. And then, depending on how I feel, I might scoot Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2 up, but that's where it's going to be, because I definitely like it better than Spider-Man 3, but definitely I like Amazing Spider-Man, the original, better. What I find so interesting with the MCU's take on Spider-Man is that they kind of just skip over, or not, I guess kind of skip over his origin story. And they just focus on him starting out. He's, wearing his own costume. And then Iron Man comes and becomes his mentor. And obviously that happens in Civil War and corresponding Avengers films after. But we don't have his first standalone film until Spider-Man Homecoming. So obviously we have a new Spider-Man, Tom Holland. Definitely going more towards the Ultimate Spider-Man, where he's young, he's a kid, and just getting thrust into the Avengers universe, which is something that I really like, because that's a lot of what happens in Ultimate Spider-Man. He's a teenager, he has his own problems, like within the high school and everything, and then the villains, but then he also gets tossed into the Avengers universe, and it is big and scary and overwhelming. And so I really like that they went that route, and I think they did a really, really good job of doing that. But for now, we're going to talk about the first film, Spider-Man Homecoming. So, again, because of how MCU introduced Peter Parker, the movie gets to focus, again, not on his origin story, but just on character development and his character and his friendships and Mary Jane and all that, and how he is dealing with that in high school and almost becoming an Avenger, and where does he see himself, and how does he want to be an Avenger? How does he want to be taken seriously? And again, just dealing with being a teenager. We have Michael Keaton as the Vulture, and this was super fun. Also super fun little twist of him being Mary Jane's dad. So that was a fun twist. They put in a iconic comic scene where Spider-Man has to basically lift a building off of his body, and like just showing the strength and the willpower of Peter Parker. So good. So I was really excited when I saw that happening in Spider-Man Homecoming. I think they do a really good job of like balancing humor with action, just like in all the other MCU films. So I think overall, Spider-Man Homecoming is a solid movie. So I'm probably gonna put it in B, because I think like Amazing Spider-Man is solid, but I think I like Spider-Man Tobey Maguire more. And then again, I'm just thinking about the other movies, so I think that's where I'm going to keep it for now. Before we get into the other Tom Holland movies, one movie that did come out before the other Tom Holland movies was Into the Spider-Verse, which I will talk about for just a second, because I don't really want to count it in this tier list because it's animated, and I kind of want to keep those separate, but it is a theatrical release, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is just, it's god tier. Like, it's way up there. It's so, I don't even want to put it on the list because it's just so good, but because it was down there, I thought I'd put it in S tier and in the front, because it's so good. I think something about Spider-Man and animation is just, it's just the way to go, and it's so good. And the story, and Miles Morales, and all of the other Spider-Mans coming in together, the animation, the art style, everything just works so good. It is the best Spider-Man movie out there today. So the next Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man Far From Home with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I loved and didn't love how it was good. They teased the multiverse, and Jake Gyllenhaal does a great job of coming in and being this multiverse superhero. He's from another universe, and he's Mysterio, and so that's why he has like the ridiculous costume and all of that. And obviously Spider-Man mourning the loss of Iron Man and everything is such a complex adding into the story, so he kind of needs a new mentor. And so when Mysterio comes into the frame, he's like, yeah, I need someone to look up to, someone to talk to, someone to give me advice. And so of course everything turns on its head when he's actually a villain and even hates Iron Man, Spider-Man's old mentor, and I love the visual effects of Mysterio's illusions. It's interesting that they made Mysterio less magical. I think he's magic in the comics, if I can recall, but definitely more illusions with just like nanotechnology instead of magic or practical effects. I don't know, but I really enjoyed Far From Home, and the stakes and kind of just the reeling from Infinity War and Endgame, and again Jake Gyllenhaal's character and like how things were, and of course Mary Jane piecing together and like actually getting to know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and all that. I really enjoyed that, so I am definitely putting it up in A because it leads to the next and final movie. Only in the realm of non-animated Spider-Man movies, this is the best Spider-Man movie out there. It is Spider-Man Far From Home. I get so giddy. Saw it in theaters. The first 5 minutes into Spider-Man Far From Home, maybe 5 to 10, we have freaking I can't remember his name because all the M names are going through my head. Miles Morales. Matt Murdock from Daredevil in there. I literally had to be shushed because I was freaking out so much and was going like, so we had Matt Murdock in there. We had just Spider-Man reeling from the fact that he is Spider-Man, everyone reeling with that fact as well. And then we get the multiverse and just the way that they did fan service for all of the fans of the previous 2 Spider-Man film franchises was perfection. Willem Dafoe coming back and doing everything. Alfred Molina coming back. I mean, all of the original actors coming back, doing their bits and keeping with the characters. They did not change at all. Like, they came exactly the same way. They didn't change it for the MCU. It was so good. And having him deal with Doctor Strange and like the ramifications of like, do I kill someone? And obviously Peter kind of teetering on that. And then I didn't even realize, because they didn't talk about Uncle Ben in the Tom Holland Spider-Man films, but he never had, I guess, from what it seemed like, he never had that impactful, with great power comes great responsibility moment until Aunt May. And I was like, oh, this is happening now, like we're watching it. And of course, having Toby and Andrew come back as Spider-Man, it's just the whole thing with Zendaya and Ned, or MJ and Ned, and it's so funny, and just the fun interactions between all of the different villains with Spider-Man, with each other, and then of course just the times of the Spider-Man coming together, them all answering to Peter, them giving Peter their own advice because they had Uncle Ben, losing Uncle Ben, Toby being like the stoic, sweet sensei, and then Andrew being the hilarious, heartfelt comic relief. And it's just, oh, that movie was so it was everything I could have hoped for. It was beyond, it was so good. So obviously we are putting Spider-Man No Way Home at the very top. Technically I'll put it behind Far From Into the Spider-Verse because Spider-Verse shouldn't be on there, but it is the top. So what did you guys think of this video? Did you enjoy the bringing back the old ranking video types? I haven't done this since like the beginning of my channel. I'd love to know what you guys thought. Who is your favorite Spider-Man? Please comment down below. I would love to have an open conversation about Spider-Man, all of the different cinematic universes. And did you prefer Andrew over Toby? Did you prefer Toby over Tom? Who is your favorite? Do you love them all? How did you take No Way Home? So, and who is your favorite Marvel, not even Marvel superhero, but who's your favorite superhero? Maybe who's your favorite Marvel superhero, but you get the idea. So my camera timed out and I did not realize that until I started editing this video. So anyway, I just wanted to say thanks so much for letting me just talk about Spider-Man, one of my favorite characters of all time, and just doing a fun, chill video this week. So I really appreciate it. Let me know down below if you like these types of videos. And again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. So without further ado, let's get, if not, is his name? So again, the movie gets, because I definitely wasn't, they weren't as the first two. How did you think? So if you see the little Venom thumbnails on the screen, Kirsten Dunst, what is his name? I know his name. Oh my gosh. Nope. And then of course we have Michael Keaton as, it's Michael Keaton, right? Why can I never, Alfred Molina? Wait, yes, Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina as Dr. Ock. The next movie that we have down is, but we don't have his first own